To be completely honest with you, I don't think I'm qualified for much in this life, aside from maybe like movie trivia night at the bar. Pretty good at that, but not much else, except for one thing. Talking about portable emulation. That's my bread and butter here on this channel, and I love talking about it. I love answering your questions about it. And one question I get more than anything else is, are you the chicken guy from Toy Story 2? And the answer is yes. But the second question I get a lot is, Izzy, what do? I want to play these old games, but I don't know what to do. Should I just keep emulating them on my phone with maybe a Bluetooth controller? Or do I pick up a dedicated portable emulation device? They're a little more expensive, but you know, is it worth it? Is there a point to doing that? Should I just keep emulating on my phone like ever? I can answer that. I have a feeling if you're into my content, you have found yourself in this position where there is a portable emulation device that you've seen online. Maybe you've seen it here on my channel, on my social media, or on someone else's social media, some other retro content creator. And you saw that and you imagined how you'd be able to, if you had that same device that this person is showing off on their pictures and their videos, if you had something like that, you'd always carry with you in your pocket or in your bag or whatever. But part of you goes, you know, it costs X dollars and maybe I could save that money right now. I have perfectly serviceable emulators on my phone. Why not just keep emulating on my phone and a Bluetooth controller? A lot of people do that. So there's more than one way to skin a cat, which in retrospect is a terrible saying. I guess maybe I shouldn't say that anymore. There's more than one way to get a job done, is the point. And depending on how you want to do this, there's a lot of different solutions, and I don't think I'd be able to do all of them justice if I were to cover every single one of them in this video. So what I'm going to show you here is a nice sampling that I feel is going to address most of the issues when you're talking about emulating on the phone with a controller versus buying a portable dedicated emulation solution. So let's go to the table here. So this right here is my phone, and as you can imagine, I have a whole bunch of emulation and a lot of other games too, because that's the beauty of using your phone as an emulation solution. You can play all these great classic games, but you can also play more current games. And if you have something like Game Pass, which ironically, I just stopped paying for it because I had some problems using it on my iPad. I got so frustrated. I decided I'm not using it a lot right now, so I could do without. So I won't be able to show you in this video, but I guarantee you it works very well with a Bluetooth controller. As I was saying, this thing is a powerful emulation solution, but of course playing with on-screen buttons is a bit of a drag. So there's a lot of ways you can go about it. With this case right here, I have a little bit of a kickstand, so I can prop the phone up and pair a Bluetooth controller and play games this way. Now, the advantage of this is you already have the most expensive thing you need to run your games, your phone. So a Bluetooth controller can be had for as little as like $20, $25. This is a very, very inexpensive way to relive all of these games. And in fact, a lot of people who are on a budget, this is what they use for the longest time. An Android phone and a Bluetooth controller. Now, this form factor here might not be everyone's cup of tea, and I understand. You have two different devices. You're going to need something to prop up your phone, because if you're playing flat like this, for the camera, this looks great. If I were to review a game, if I try to play a game like this would probably be awful. So you're going to need something to prop up your phone or your tablet, because this obviously works for a tablet as well, to be able to really get some enjoyment out of this. So this is one solution. Another solution you can go with is something like this guy right here, is the GameSir X2. It's a follow-up to the original GameSir X2, which had a little USB-C connection here, so you actually had to plug your phone into USB to make it work. The benefits with that is, you know, in theory, you're going to experience less input lag because it's connected right to your controller. The problem with that obviously is not every phone is going to work really well with that arrangement. Namely, my ROG Phone 2, for some reason the guys at Asus decided that the USB-C charging port here on the side should be a little offset. So if I were to use the original one, it would kind of sit like weird. I'm gonna take the case off because this one is a bit of a behemoth. So I'm gonna show you here. With the original, you have to have something like this for it to work with my phone, right? Because the USB-C connector would be right about here and the phone would not sit right. And thankfully, with this updated version, they went with Bluetooth. Now this thing is quite big, But as you can see, it turns your phone into a bit of a switch of sorts. So once you have this going, games become a lot better. Now, mind you, not every single game is going to work with this, namely, mostly because of balancing issues. Online first-person shooters like Call of Duty Mobile, for instance, are a little finicky with what kind of controllers it allows you to use. So keep that in mind. Now, for emulation, for playing actual Android titles, this will work flawlessly. It's a great solution. And the benefit of this is that you have your phone. Again, you're going to be saving a lot of money because this is what's doing the heavy lifting, and you just need to get something like this. Because it's a telescoping controller, this is going to fit a wide variety of both phones and tablets. It's a great way to improve your gameplay experience on something that's, you know, a touch screen. Now, compare that with something like, let's see, my PSP Go, right? Which I could actually fit into this. And if it wasn't for the fact that the Bluetooth connection on the PSP Go only allows it to be paired with a DualShock 3 controller, I could actually use this as a controller for the whole thing. Anyway, compare this to a PlayStation Portable, which is a all-in-one solution, just the one device. This is going to run you a little bit more money, but it is more portable, and most importantly, you are going to save your phone's battery because you're going to be gaming on this thing, and if you're buying a controller, I assume you're going to be doing that a lot, you're going to eat through battery life way faster than you probably expect, especially if your phone, like mine, has gone through a few battery cycles. My phone is almost 3 years old at this point, so if I'm playing games on it too much, the battery will just die. So whether you buy something like a PSP Go or, where is it? Something I've once called the holy grail of emulation, the GPD-XD. This thing right here is an Android device, which is obviously dead because I haven't charged it in quite a while. It's a dedicated Android device, and this starts to get into a territory that is also very important to cover. Devices that are powered by Android, like a GPD-XD or this Mochi i7S, which is effectively just basically like a really weird cell phone that plays games. It's a little dusty. Let's see, there's a camera there. There's a camera back there. You can put a SIM card and make calls with this. It would look even funnier than making calls on an N-Gage. But you can play games on it, and the fact that this has a browser, it has an app store, it has Wi-Fi, it's much easier to get games in this thing. If I want to get new games on, say, a PSP Go or something like the Pocket Go 2 right here, I have so many of these devices, it's hard to keep track of which is which. Is this thing have battery? Did I charge it recently? I did. Putting new games and new ROMs on this thing is a lot harder. And there aren't as many people developing games for either one of these homebrew applications. Like if you want to play classic PC games, like this thing has a bunch of PC games here. There's like Digger, you got Dink Smallwood, which is a game that I didn't know anybody else knew. There's a pretty crappy port of Heroes of Might and Magic. There's Liero. There's a bunch of classic games here. There's a StarCraft that got me very excited, but the port doesn't work, so I'm not sure why they bundled it with this thing. It's a lot harder to get new games on this thing. So this is the type of solution for somebody who, if you're not super computer savvy, you're going to be needing help putting games on this. In fact, a lot of the questions I get asked on email, social media, and the likes, and what have you, is how to put games, both ROMs for say a Super Nintendo game, and how do I put in like ports of computer games that were ported for this device. It's a little tricky. It requires a little bit of computer know-how. So if you're not super experienced, something like this, you might have a little bit of trouble getting games on, as opposed to say your phone. It's very, very easy. I'm breaking things here. It's very easy to load new content on a phone or an Android device of any kind, like a tablet or a GPD-XD. So if you're not super computer savvy, I think this is an option I would tell you to go with. So I think this covers a pretty decent, like I said, the experience is going to be very different whether you use a telescoping Bluetooth controller or a regular Bluetooth controller you can pair with your Switch, which is the reason why I have this thing here. Whether you have something like the GPD-XD or a Pocket Go or a PSP Go, like there's many different ways to go about this, but ultimately it's going to come down to personal preference. If you value the ease of use, I think that something like a Bluetooth controller and just your Android phone is going to serve you much better. Plus, like I mentioned, there's so many awesome Android games that are going to work with this controller. In fact, the way the developers have figured this out, it's really smart. Once you play a game And if it has on-screen controls, when you pair the controller, the on-screen controls disappear until you touch the screen. They come back. I assume the game thinks that you're trying to actually activate them on the screen, but they look like an actual a game. Like, it doesn't look like a portable game anymore. And some of them have such production values. You're gonna have a blast. It's much easier to play more modern, more recent games on your phone and a Bluetooth controller. This kind of solution here is going to serve you really well, especially when you consider things like Game Pass Ultimate. When you pair a controller to Game Pass Ultimate, you just turn your phone into a little Xbox. So there's that. But if you value just a more simple solution, you can have your phone just in your pocket, not blowing through your battery life, and you can just, whip this thing out and play some Bomberman, play some Mario Kart, play some, I don't know, what do you want to play on these things? Some Sonic and Knuckles, I don't know. If you value portability and you don't want to burn through your phone, if you value portability and you don't want to burn through your phone's battery, and I gotta say, perhaps the ergonomics aren't your priority, right? Because like a PSP Go is a little tricky to hold comfortably. The same thing with any of these small devices. They're going to be a little uncomfortable to hold for a very long amount of time, right? Like controllers, they have those little extra things here. Let me show you here my point. I'm trying to prove a point here. You see this thing right here? These little things that you grab onto here? These things, I think, console gamers probably take this for granted, right? Because like when you're playing a portable emulation solution, like be it like on a little device like this, or even your phone with like a controller like this, your fingers here, they don't really have anything to hold on to. So you find yourself kind of like holding the controller or the device kind of like at this kind of angle, right? So over time, this puts a lot of tension on your fingers, your hand starts to cramp up. So I love these solutions, don't get me wrong. But there is a reason why this is far more comfortable to hold for hours on end. So if ergonomics are huge for you, something like this will probably, because it's bigger, your hands have more to grab onto, this will probably, you'll be able to hold this for a longer time than you would something like, tiny like this, or what else do I have here? Or, BitBoy, which is a huge personal favorite of mine. But it is a little smaller and your hands might cramp up. So those are the things you have to take into account. Anyway, this is a brief glance at the different ways to play your retro games on the go. Of course, like I said in the beginning, there are so many variations on this. The controllers you can get and the phone that you use and the different emulation solutions that are out there. If I were to do a comprehensive, like a tier list, which actually, that would be a great tier list now that I think about it. Go through like all the options that I have and what's good and maybe this whole video should have been a tier list. Anyway, this is just to give you an idea. If you're on the market right now for a way to play your portable games, those are the things you have to take into account. Personally, myself, I kind of orbit the dedicated emulation device route. I like having something that I can just pull out of my pocket, turn on, and it's right there. If I have to pull something out of my pocket and then pair with my phone and stretch the thing to fit the phone inside, I feel like all that messing around with it takes away a bit of like precious actual gameplay time. And I know it might sound weird, maybe some people understand me, maybe this makes no sense to you, but even those extra steps to get the game going, depending on how much time I have, even that, like, it lost me right then and there. Whereas with the PSP Go, which I've mentioned many times, it's my go-to. If I have a game going before I close the lid, when I open it, the game is right there, ready to go. Same thing with the GPD-XD. When I flip the screen on, if I had a game running before I did this, it's right back where I ended, just like a DS. So that makes a huge difference for me. Convenience is key for me with most things, so it's definitely the case here. But what do you think? I'm very, very curious about your opinion on this. Do you prefer a dedicated emulation solution? And if you allow me a guess, I have a feeling you might, because you watch this channel and this is most of what I cover. But I want to know about the frugal gamers who think that the Android phone paired to a Bluetooth controller is a fine enough solution that you don't feel the need to spend extra money. Plus, you can actually use the controller with other devices, so that's also a plus, right? There's a lot of things to consider. Let me know in the comments down below. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. This is what I talk about here. Make sure to hit the notification bell, like and subscribe, and comments and all those things. The things that the algorithm, it needs that to. You need to let it know that you like my stuff, otherwise you won't see my stuff. Follow me on social media. I'm very active on both Twitter and Instagram, and I'm always answering questions about this kind of stuff over there. But that's all the time I have for today. I'm Izzy, and I'm done. Where's my phone? Where the hell's my phone? It's like a key part of the video. What the? Oh, there it is.